July 7th, 1944, 5:42 a.m. Saipan, Mariana Islands. Captain Ben Salomon is working on a wounded soldier's shattered leg when the first scream cuts through the jungle air. He looks up from the field surgery table. The tent flap is 15 feet away. Through the opening, he can see American soldiers running, not retreating, running for their lives. The aid station is 50 yards behind the front line. It shouldn't be possible for Japanese soldiers to be this close, but the impossible is happening. Between 3,000 and 5,000 Japanese troops are crashing through the American perimeter in the largest banzai charge of the Pacific War. 30 wounded men fill the tent. Most can't walk. Some can't even crawl. They're lying on dirt floors, on stretchers, bleeding through bandages that Salomon applied minutes ago. He's a dentist, a 29-year-old dentist from Milwaukee who graduated from USC Dental School 7 years ago and spent his practice pulling wisdom teeth and fitting crowns. Now he's the battalion surgeon because the real surgeon got shot yesterday. A Japanese soldier appears in the tent entrance, bayonet raised, moving toward a wounded American lying helpless on a stretcher. In the next 60 seconds, Ben Salomon will kill 7 enemy soldiers with his bare hands and whatever weapons he can grab. In the next 4 hours, he'll kill 98 of them. And when they find his body days later, it will have 76 bullet wounds and 24 bayonet wounds, all because a dentist decided that nobody kills his patients. Benjamin Lewis Salomon was born September 1st, 1914, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to a Jewish family, not to a military family, not to a legacy of warriors. His parents wanted him to be a professional, a doctor or a dentist, someone who helped people without getting shot at. He was an Eagle Scout, one of only 9 Eagle Scouts in American history who would eventually receive the Medal of Honor. The scouting principle stayed with him. Be prepared, help other people at all times, be brave. He graduated from Shorewood High School, attended Marquette University, then transferred to the University of Southern California. In 1937, he walked out of USC Dental School with a degree and a future. He opened a dental practice, comfortable office, regular patients, steady income. The American Dream, 1930s edition. Then came 1940, the draft, war in Europe, war in Asia. America wasn't in it yet, but everybody knew it was coming. Salomon's number came up. At 26 years old, he was inducted into the United States Army. Here's where the story gets interesting. The Army looked at his dental degree and probably thought, great, we need dentists. But Salomon didn't go straight to the dental corps. He started as an infantry private, basic training with 18-year-old kids fresh off farms. Marching, shooting, fighting. He qualified expert with both rifle and pistol. Not just competent, expert. The highest marksmanship classification the Army awards. The dentist from Milwaukee could outshoot farm boys who'd been hunting since they could walk. 1942, 2 years into his service, the Army finally realized they had a trained dentist carrying a rifle. First Lieutenant Benjamin Salomon, Army Dental Corps, commissioned officer. The promotion came with a change of duties and an unexpected honor. August 14th, 1942. The commanding officer of the 102nd Infantry Regiment made an official declaration. Ben Salomon was the unit's best all-around soldier. Read that again. A dentist, not the best dentist, not the best medical officer, The best all-around soldier in an infantry regiment, better than career infantry officers, better than men who had joined the army specifically to fight. May 1943. Salomon is serving as regimental dental officer for the 105th Infantry Regiment, 27th Infantry Division. He's pulling teeth, fitting dentures, handling the routine dental problems that plague soldiers eating sea rations in tropical climates. Not exactly dangerous work. 1944. Promotion to captain. He's 29 years old now. Still hasn't seen combat. Still hasn't fired a shot at another human being. The expert marksmanship qualification was just training, just scores on a range. He has no idea if he can actually pull the trigger when someone is shooting back. June 1944. The 27th Infantry Division ships to Saipan. Saipan is 12 miles long, 5 miles wide. A tiny island in the Mariana Islands chain, 1,400 miles south of Tokyo. The Japanese have 30,000 troops dug into caves, bunkers, and fortified positions across the island. They've had years to prepare. They're not leaving. The American invasion force is massive. Marines hit the beaches on June 15th. The Army follows. The 27th Infantry Division, Salomon's division, lands on June 16th. He's coming ashore as a regimental dental officer. Combat dentistry consists mainly of nothing. Soldiers getting shot don't care about cavities. Salomon volunteers. The 2nd Battalion surgeon has been wounded. Somebody needs to replace him. Salomon steps forward. He's a dentist, but he's also a doctor. He can handle trauma. He can handle surgery. He can save lives. Nobody asks if he can handle killing. That's not supposed to be part of a medical officer's job. The American assault on Saipan is brutal from day one. Japanese defenders have transformed the island into a fortress. Every cave is a fighting position. Every ridge is a killing field. American casualties mount by the hundreds, then by the thousands. By July 7th, the Japanese are cornered. Most of the island is in American hands. The Japanese forces are compressed into a small pocket on the northern end. They're out of options. No reinforcements coming. No resupply. No hope of victory. The Japanese commanders make a decision. They're going to die anyway. They might as well die attacking. What they plan is called a gyokusai, a mass banzai charge. Every soldier, every sailor, every able-bodied man on the northern end of Saipan will attack at once. They'll break through the American lines or die trying. Most of them will die trying. Between 3,000 and 5,000 men prepare for the assault. Some have rifles, some have swords, some have bamboo spears, some have nothing but their hands and a willingness to die for the emperor. It will be the largest banzai charge of the entire Pacific War. The Americans have no idea it's coming. Captain Ben Salomon has his aid station set up 50 yards behind the forward foxhole line, close enough to reach wounded men quickly, far enough back to be relatively safe. That's the theory. The aid station is a tent, canvas walls, dirt floor, surgical table, medical supplies, morphine, bandages. It's designed to stabilize wounded men before evacuating them to rear area hospitals. It's not designed to be a fortress. July 7th, 1944, 5 a.m. The Gyokusai begins. The sound hits first. Thousands of voices screaming. Banzai! Over and over. Banzai means 10,000 years. a wish for the emperor's long life. In practice, it means we're about to kill you or die trying. The American soldiers in the forward foxholes open fire. Machine guns, rifles, grenades. They pour fire into the attacking Japanese. Men fall, more men keep coming. The math is simple and terrible. 3,000 attackers against 2 battalions of American infantry. The Japanese have overwhelming numbers. They don't care about casualties. They're going to overwhelm the American positions through sheer mass. The perimeter breaks, not everywhere, not all at once, but in enough places to let Japanese soldiers flood through. They're in the American positions now, hand-to-hand fighting, bayonets, knives, rifle butts. The combat is close and personal and utterly savage. Captain Salomon is operating on a wounded soldier when the casualties start arriving. Not walking wounded, carried wounded. Men shot multiple times, bleeding out, minutes from death. They're being dumped into the aid station as fast as their buddies can get them there. 30 wounded men in the first few minutes. The tent is full. No more room. Salomon is triaging, deciding who he can save and who he can't, working as fast as his hands will move. Bandages, morphine, pressure on wounds, tourniquets. Basic trauma care at maximum speed. That's when he sees movement in the tent entrance. A Japanese soldier, bayonet mounted on his rifle, walking toward a wounded American lying on a stretcher. The wounded man can't defend himself, can't even move. Just another casualty for the Japanese soldier to finish off. Salomon grabs an M1 Garand. The rifle is leaning against the tent wall belonging to one of the wounded men. He doesn't think about the Geneva Convention, doesn't think about the Red Cross brassard on his arm, the marking that identifies him as a medical officer, a non-combatant. He thinks, not my patient. Salomon fires from a squatting position. The Japanese soldier drops, dead before he hits the ground. Salomon turns back to his work. He's a surgeon. He has patients to save. 2 more Japanese soldiers appear in the tent entrance. He kills them both. 4 more crawl under the tent walls. They're inside before Salomon realizes they're there. Canvas doesn't stop bayonets. It barely slows them down. What happens next is documented in the official Medal of Honor citation and eyewitness accounts. It sounds like a movie. It sounds impossible. It's what actually happened. Salomon rushes the 4 Japanese soldiers who've crawled under the tent walls. He doesn't have time to grab the rifle. They're too close. This is going to be a knife fight, a fist fight, whatever you can grab fight. The first soldier has a knife. Salomon kicks it out of his hand. The knife spins away across the tent floor. The second soldier is raising his rifle. Salomon shoots him. The M1 Garand is back in his hands. How he grabbed it while kicking the first soldier, nobody knows. Combat is fast. Memory is unreliable. The third soldier lunges with a bayonet. Salomon bayonets him first. The blade goes in. The soldier falls. The fourth soldier is on him. Salomon butts him in the stomach with his rifle. The soldier doubles over, one of the wounded Americans lying on a stretcher, still capable of holding a weapon, shoots the Japanese soldier, kills him. 7 enemy soldiers dead in less than 60 seconds. The tent is filled with bodies, both American and Japanese. Blood is everywhere. The wounded men are watching their dentist turned surgeon turned warrior kill enemy soldiers with whatever weapons come to hand. Salomon looks around the tent. at the 30 wounded men, at the dead Japanese soldiers, at the canvas walls that won't stop the next attack. He makes a decision. Get out. All of you, get back to the regimental aid station. The wounded men stare at him. Some of them can't walk. Some of them can barely crawl. He's ordering them to evacuate through a battlefield where Japanese soldiers are killing every American they can find. Go! Now I'll cover you. Salomon grabs a rifle from one of the wounded and rushes out of the tent. Outside, the situation is chaos. The American perimeter has collapsed in multiple places. Japanese soldiers are everywhere. The 2nd Battalion is fighting for survival. The wounded men streaming out of the aid station are exposed, vulnerable, easy targets. Salomon sees a machine gun position. 4 American soldiers are dead beside it. The M1917 machine gun is still operational, still loaded. It's a heavy machine gun, .30 caliber, water-cooled, firing 450 rounds per minute. Effective range, 1,500 yards. It's designed to be operated by a crew of at least 3 men. Salomon operates it alone. He takes position behind the gun. The wounded men are moving behind him, crawling, limping, helping each other toward the rear. They need time. They need covering fire. They need someone to hold off the Japanese assault long enough for them to escape. Ben Salomon becomes that someone. He opens fire. The M1917 is a devastating weapon in trained hands. Salomon's hands are trained. Remember, expert qualification with rifle and pistol, the best all-around soldier in his regiment. He knows how to shoot. He knows how to kill. Japanese soldiers fall, wave after wave. They're not tactically sophisticated. They're charging. That's the point of a banzai attack. Overwhelming force, suicidal courage, victory or death, mostly death. Salomon fires until the gun runs dry, reloads, fires again. The machine gun is liquid-cooled for a reason. Sustained fire generates heat that would warp an air-cooled barrel. He's generating that heat. The water in the cooling jacket is boiling. More Japanese soldiers. More magazines. More bodies piling up in front of his position. The wounded men are evacuating, slowly, painfully. But they're moving, they're getting away. That's all Salomon cares about. His patients are escaping. His job is working. The Japanese realize that one machine gun is tearing apart their assault. They concentrate fire on Salomon's position. Rifles, machine guns of their own, grenades. The earth around him explodes with impacts. He keeps firing. Bullets hit him. He keeps firing. More bullets. He keeps firing. The human body can absorb tremendous damage and keep functioning for minutes or even hours. Adrenaline, willpower, training. Salomon has all 3. He's been shot multiple times. He's still fighting. Japanese soldiers reach his position. Close range. They bayonet him. He fights back. Hand-to-hand combat while operating a machine gun, bleeding from multiple wounds, surrounded by enemy troops. This is where the details get unclear. This is where eyewitness accounts end and forensic evidence begins, because everyone who saw what happened next was either killed or evacuated. What we know is the result. July 11, 1944, 4 days after the banzai charge. An Army team returns to the site of the 2nd Battalion aid station. They're recovering bodies, American bodies, Japanese bodies. The entire area is a graveyard. They find Captain Benjamin Salomon slumped over the M1917 machine gun. His hands are still on the weapon. His body is positioned to fire. In front of his position, they count 98 dead Japanese soldiers. 98. They examine Salomon's body. The wounds are extensive. 76 bullet wounds, multiple bayonet wounds, possibly as many as 24. The forensic analysis suggests that up to 24 of those bayonet wounds were inflicted while Salomon was still alive, while he was still fighting. The trajectory of the wounds tells a story. Japanese soldiers didn't just shoot him from a distance. They closed on his position, they reached him, they stabbed him, and he kept fighting. The evidence suggests that even after being shot dozens of times, even after being bayoneted repeatedly, Ben Salomon continued operating the machine gun, continued killing enemy soldiers, continued defending the evacuation of his wounded patients. He fought until he physically couldn't fight anymore. And then he died behind the gun. Captain Edmund G. Love, the 27th Division historian, is part of the recovery team. He sees the body. He sees the 98 dead enemy soldiers. He hears the eyewitness accounts from the wounded men who escaped, the men Salomon saved. Love immediately begins preparing a Medal of Honor recommendation. But there's a problem, a big problem, one that will delay Salomon's recognition for 58 years. The recommendation reaches Major General George W. Greiner, commanding general of the 27th Infantry Division. He reads it, he understands what Salomon did, and he declines to approve it. The official reason: Salomon was in the medical service and wore a Red Cross brassard upon his arm. Under the rules of the Geneva Convention, to which the United States subscribes, no medical officer can bear arms against the enemy. The Geneva Convention is clear. Medical personnel are non-combatants. They don't fight. They don't kill. They wear the Red Cross to identify themselves as protected persons. In exchange for that protection, they can't participate in combat. Ben Salomon wore the Red Cross. Ben Salomon killed 98 enemy soldiers with a crew-served machine gun. By the letter of the law, he violated the Geneva Convention. The recommendation is denied. 1951, Captain Love tries again. He resubmits through the Office of the Chief of Military History. Surely after the war is over, after emotions have cooled, the Army will recognize what Salomon did. The recommendation is returned without action. New reason: the time limit for submitting World War II awards has passed. 1969, Lieutenant General Hal B. Jennings, Surgeon General of the United States Army, submits another recommendation. A Surgeon General advocating for a Medal of Honor for a medical officer who violated medical non-combatant status. The irony is noted. 1970, Stanley R. Ressort, Secretary of the Army, recommends approval. He forwards it to the Secretary of Defense. The recommendation is returned without action. No reason given. For 54 years, the Medal of Honor recommendation languishes. Ben Salomon remains officially unrecognized for an action that, by any objective standard, exceeds the criteria for the medal. 1998, Dr. Robert West from USC Dental School takes up the cause. He contacts Congressman Brad Sherman. Together, they resubmit the recommendation, this time with the support of Major General Patrick D. Scully, the new chief of the Army Dental Corps. The Army has evolved. Interpretations of the Geneva Convention have been clarified. Modern understanding allows medical personnel to use weapons in self-defense and in defense of patients. The use of a crew-served weapon remains questionable, but the context matters. Salomon was defending helpless wounded men from an overwhelming enemy assault. May 1, 2002. The White House. President George W. Bush presents the Medal of Honor to Dr. Robert West, accepting on behalf of Captain Benjamin L. Salomon. It has been 58 years since Salomon died behind that machine gun on Saipan. Dr. West then presents the medal to Major General Scully for permanent placement in the Army Medical Department Museum in San Antonio, Texas. A replica is displayed at USC Dental School, where Salomon learned to be a dentist, not a warrior. Ben Salomon died at 29 years old. He never married. He never had children. He never returned to his dental practice in Los Angeles. Never fitted another crown. Never pulled another wisdom tooth. He's buried in Chattanooga National Cemetery, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Section X, Grave 8, not Arlington. Most Medal of Honor recipients are buried at Arlington. Salomon isn't. His family chose Tennessee, closer to home, quieter. That's fitting for a man who never sought glory. He graduated dental school and opened a practice. That's not the action of someone looking for fame. When he was drafted, he didn't dodge. He didn't seek a safe posting. He served as an infantry private first, earned expert marksmanship qualification, then accepted his commission as a dental officer. When the 2nd Battalion surgeon was wounded, Salomon didn't have to volunteer. He was a dental officer. Cavities and gum disease. That's what he signed up for. But he volunteered anyway because someone needed to save lives. On July 7, 1944, when Japanese soldiers started killing his patients, Salomon didn't have to fight. He could have run. He could have surrendered. The Geneva Convention protected him. The Red Cross on his arm marked him as a non-combatant. But his patients couldn't run. His patients were lying on stretchers, bleeding, dying. And Ben Salomon decided that the Red Cross on his arm meant he was supposed to protect those patients by any means necessary. So he killed 98 enemy soldiers. And then he died doing it. The Medal of Honor citation reads, Captain Salomon's extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. It doesn't mention that he was 5 feet 8 inches, 160 pounds. It doesn't mention that he was a dentist who'd spent most of his professional life looking at teeth, not enemy soldiers. It doesn't mention that he'd been in combat for less than a month before he died. It just says he did his duty, and that's all Ben Salomon ever wanted to do. Ben Salomon is one of only 3 dental officers to receive the Medal of Honor. The others are Alexander Gordon Lyle and Wheaton Osborne. He's one of 3 Jewish American soldiers awarded the medal for World War II. He's one of 9 Eagle Scouts to receive it. There's no base named after him, no highway, no high school. USC Dental School has a replica of his medal. The Army Medical Department Museum has the original. That's it. Most people have never heard of Ben Salomon. They know Audie Murphy. They know Alvin York. They know Desmond Doss, the conscientious objector medic who refused to carry a weapon. Everyone knows Desmond Doss because his story fits the narrative we want. The man who saved lives without taking them. Ben Salomon saved lives by taking them. That's a harder story. It doesn't fit the narrative of heroic medical personnel who operate above the battle, protected by international law and the Red Cross. But here's the truth about war. Sometimes the Geneva Convention is a luxury. Sometimes the enemy doesn't care about your Red Cross brassard. Sometimes the only way to save your patients is to kill the people trying to murder them. On July 7, 1944, Ben Salomon had a choice: follow the rules and watch his patients die, or break the rules and save them. He chose his patients. 98 Japanese soldiers died. 30 American soldiers lived. That's the mathematics of Salomon's choice. He knew what he was doing. Expert marksman, best all-around soldier in his regiment. When he grabbed that M1917 machine gun and took position, he understood exactly what he was committing to. He was buying time with his life. Every minute he held that position was another minute for his patients to escape. Every Japanese soldier he killed was one less soldier chasing his wounded men. The bodies of 98 enemy soldiers don't lie. Neither do 76 bullet wounds and 24 bayonet wounds. Ben Salomon fought until he physically couldn't fight anymore, and then he died doing his duty. There's a question that haunts this story. What was going through Salomon's mind during those last minutes? When he'd been shot a dozen times, when Japanese soldiers were bayoneting him, when he must have known he wasn't going to survive, why did he keep fighting? Maybe he thought about his patients. The 30 men he'd ordered to evacuate, were they far enough away? Were they safe? He couldn't stop until he was sure. Maybe he thought about being a doctor. First, do no harm. But what does that mean when harm is being done to helpless people under your care? Maybe doing no harm means doing tremendous harm to the people causing harm. Maybe he didn't think at all. Maybe after the first bullet, after the first bayonet, it was just training, muscle memory. Aim, reload, aim, the mechanical actions of combat performed by a body too stubborn to die. We don't know. We'll never know. Ben Salomon died behind that machine gun on Saipan, and he took his thoughts with him. What we know is what he did, and what he did was choose his patience over his life, choose duty over survival, choose to fight when fighting violated every rule he was supposed to follow. The Geneva Convention says medical officers can't bear arms against the enemy. Ben Salomon decided that 30 wounded men matter more than the Geneva Convention. History proved him right. It just took 58 years for his medal to arrive. When President Bush presented the Medal of Honor in 2002, there was no family to receive it. No wife, no children, no siblings still living. Dr. Robert West accepted on behalf of USC Dental School, the institution where Salomon learned to heal. But Ben Salomon didn't die healing. He died killing, and he saved 30 lives by doing it. That's the story they don't tell about heroes. Sometimes heroism isn't noble. Sometimes it isn't clean. Sometimes it's a dentist from Milwaukee standing behind a machine gun, bleeding from dozens of wounds, surrounded by bodies, buying time for wounded men to crawl to safety. Sometimes courage is breaking the rules because the rules will get people killed. Sometimes courage is deciding that you're not going to make it out, but your patients are. Sometimes courage is a dentist who kills 98 enemy soldiers because nobody kills his patients.